How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? This is Farouk here, and I'm going to be taking you through the much anticipated freestyle video of going from candle to candle and predicting what the next candle is going to be when I take those trades. So this is going to be in conjunction with candlestick formation and price action. And you guys are going to love this because this is going to show you a real world example of how candlesticks function, what you should look for in support and resistance, and what candles should look like when placing trades. Now remember, this is a 5-minute strategy, so you have to predict what the next candle is going to look like to take a 5-minute trade at the opening or the closing of the candle. Now usually I do 5-minute charts and do 15 and 30-minute trades, but this is another strategy you can implement, but I encourage you to only implement this when you get familiarized with price action, support, and resistance. Do not go into live account when you see this and start trading assuming that I win. I have no idea whether I'm going to win or lose, but let's just see what happens. Now I created a chart here to show you a real-time tally of my wins and losses, assuming that you have $1,000 beginning balance, you take $100 investments, and your return is 70%. So if I have a win, this is automatically going to update with a profit of $70 and your ending balance of $1,070. If I lose, then you're going to lose your $100 investment, and your ending balance would be minus $30 return, and your ending balance would be 970 bucks. I also got together a time of what time is it right now. Okay, so we'll also see how long it takes for us to do this. So it's at 1:25 p.m. right now in Toronto, and I will show you what time it is after we're done. Excuse me. So let's get started. I'm going to pick a currency at random. I have no idea what currency I'm going to use, so let's start here. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Catch a tiger by the toe. If he hollers, let him go. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. So we're going to be doing the EURAUD and going through the chart candle by candle and trying to predict where it's going. Now it looks like this chart was moving pretty well. So let's start from the beginning and go from there. Hopefully you guys learned something very, very interesting and very, very new today. And hopefully it benefits everyone. So right now we're trying to establish support and resistance and how price will move around those areas and how candles look around those areas when you're approaching support and resistance. Right now we're just trying to establish it, so we're not making any trades. So right now it's just doing a bunch of nothing, so just keep going on with this. Okay, so it looks like it's dropping a little bit. So now you see, lower highs and lower lows. So it looks like it's in a temporary downtrend. So we're waiting for that downtrend to exhaust. So it looks like it kind of leveled off here. So let's just keep watching it. So it went up this way, but we're still watching it. Now it looks like this wick over here was a good wick. So there was a long green candle, and the next candle after that was a long wick red candle, meaning it might come back up here and retest that area. And if it does, depending on what the candle looks like, I might just take another trade. But it also could come down here, and depending on what that candle looks like, I might take a call trade. So let's see what happens here. Right now it's doing a bunch of nothing again. I mean, it's hitting this part. You could, if you were very risky, take a call trade at some point here, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to make any trades here. Okay, so see here, it's retesting this area of resistance here. Now remember, the preceding candle had a wick here. However, the current candle does not have a wick. But use your judgment. If this is a big enough wick for you to be like, okay, this might be a good bounce back, then take the trade. And in this case, I will take the trade. I'm going to take a put trade to the bottom for 5 minutes, and I would have won that. So let's go back to the chart and put a win here. We'll take this out. So right now we're up 70 bucks. Let's keep going. Right now it's just hovering. It's doing nothing still. Now remember, the smaller the candlesticks are, don't do anything. I do not trade when the candles are small. Like this one is small. This one is very small. This is small. This is small. This is small. This is small. I would have taken trades anywhere here in the small candles. Notice I took the trade when the candles were big, and I won it. Okay. I wouldn't have taken. I'm not going to take a trade here or here because the candles are too small. But if there was a huge wick and the candlestick closed around where the support and resistance was, but the body was small, I may have taken a trade. But right now, none of that applies. So I'm still watching. Now it looks like it's approaching this area of support. So let's see what happens around that area. So here again, it looks like there's a wick here with a large upswing in the price. Now this tells me that it might be a good chance that the price might bounce back down. So I'm going to take a put trade for 5 minutes, assuming the next candle is red. And I would have won that trade. So now we're at 140 bucks. Now a lot of people are happy with 140 bucks. So I encourage you to stop trading. After the 2 trades that you've made, and if you've won both, stop trading. This is good enough. But I'm going to go through all of it to show you, as a lesson, what you should and should not do. So let's see what's happening next. It's doing a bunch of nothing. Okay, so it's approaching the bottom. It's approaching the support again. So let's see what happens when it approaches that. Okay, so nothing. It hasn't touched the support, so I'm not doing anything yet. So now you see a minor retest, but the candle just touched and went up. I'm not going to do anything here. Candles are too small for me to do anything, so I'm not doing anything here. See how unsure the market becomes when the candles are small. And that's why I tell you, don't take trades when the candles are small. Okay, so it's doing a bunch of nothing here. Candles are getting bigger. So let's see where it reverses again. Okay, so this was an old area of support, and it looks like there might be a bounce for a new point of resistance. I say bounce because the candle was large, but it created this type of wick. Okay, it's probably about 45% of the size of the body of the candle. So because this looks like there might be a bounce to the downside, I might take a put trade. I think the next candle is going to be red, and I'm going to take a put trade for 5 minutes. And I would have been at the money, so meaning it's the same price as it when it opened and closed. So I'm going to assume that my investment of $100 gets back to me. So no trade after that, because just this candle here just looks like it opened and closed in the same place. So I think the market is still unsure of what it wants to do. So I'm just going to leave it. I'm going to take my $100 back and not trade. Same here, too small. Okay, so now it's just done doing much nothing. Okay, so it looks like it's doing nothing here. Okay, it's touching that point again, but no wick here, so I'm not doing anything. Okay, actually I should move this because it was violated. I'll put that here instead. So this was an area of resistance that I forgot to draw a line here. And it reached this point, and it has a large enough wick here. So I'm going to place another trade for a put for 5 minutes. And I would have won that. So 3 wins, 0 losses. You're up by $200. So let's see what happens here. I should probably put the support here. Okay, so it violates that support. And there was no wick here to signify a potential resistance or a potential bounce, so I'm not going to do anything here. I would have won it though, but I'm not going to do anything. Now notice there was a wick in this candle, but it closed above that line, so I'm not going to do it. I wouldn't have done anything here, and I didn't even call it out anyway. So also, it looks like there was a bounce here. So see, this old resistance becomes new support. There was a bounce here for a potential upswing. So if there was another red candle with a wick, and it might bounce again. So I'll wait for that to happen. But it didn't. See, it broke through, and now we're watching again to see what happens. So I'll put this here. This is the old support, but it violated that, so I'm not doing anything. Okay, so it's going down again. So this is a large pullback, so this is a good area of potential support. So let's see what happens in between this line and this line. So there was a long wick, however, it closed pretty much underneath this resistance line, so I'm not going to do anything here. This is a long wick, and it closed close to this old support, new resistance. So I'm going to take a 5-minute put option thinking that the next candle is going to be red. And I would have won that. So now we're watching again. So this is a long wick. It's perfect for a trade. However, it closed well above this support line. So the next candle could be a red one to close here. But if I'm doing a call trade, I want it to close closer to this line, preferably with a long wick to signify a trade to the upside. But right now, none of that exists, so we're not doing any trading. Oops. So it looks like it touched this area. Wick was pretty small, but it touched this area of old support and twice bounced from a resistance point. And sometimes you'll notice that when the candle is large and it reaches a point of a bounce, the overall market, people are thinking, the people who are trading this, overall market uses this as a level to level out the price, meaning I think the next candle is going to be red and I'm going to do a 5-minute put option. And I would have won that. So right now, no losses. And we're up by $350 for the day. So let's continue, see what happens. Now, it reached this point of old support, but it violated this line here. So I'm going to remove this line here. And it reached this level of old resistance. Could be new support, especially when there's a nice wick there. Not big enough for me, but still it warrants a pullback because this had a nice wick over here. These had a nice wick here. So I think it's going to move back up for the next candle. It's going to be green, and I think I'm going to take a 5-minute call option. And I would have won that. So now we're just watching. See, it broke that line now. So if anything, if it continues up, then if it comes down, then we're going to watch it to come down to this place before we do another call trade. Okay. Okay, so see, it bounced off this place with a nice little wick here. It's possible the next candle after this could be green. However, it closed close to, relatively far away from the resistance, so we're not going to place any trades there. And this wick touched, but it closed here. But I am going to place a trade because it closed relatively closely to this resistance line. So I'm going to place a trade there for a call for 5 minutes. And I would have won that trade. Oops, I don't know what's happening. I just hope my computer doesn't freeze. Okay, so it's bouncing again. But however, remember, it bounced already once, twice, and now it's the third time. But because the wick is nice and big, the only thing holding me back again is the distance between where it closed and the resistance line. But I'm going to take this trade because I like the wick. I'm going to do a call for 5 minutes up. And I would have murdered that trade. So right now, we're at 8-0, so we're up $560. You're made a 500% return. Sorry, 50% return already in one day, and in about how much time is this? Start at 5 o'clock. It's been about 10 hours. No, 8 hours. I don't know. Whatever. You do the math. So now it hit a point of resistance here, and the wick is not very comfortable for me, but I think because of these past pricing behavior, the next candle is going to be red, and I'm going to place a 5-minute put option there. And I don't know what would have happened there, but just to be conservative, I'm going to say I lost. But I wouldn't have placed another trade because this candle looks weird. So I'm going to just say I lost, even though I would have been just in the money, or sorry, at the money. Okay, so now it's hitting the highest high for that day. It touched it, and it bounced back. But I'm not going to place a trade because this is relatively far away from the resistance point. So let's see what happens. I'm not going to place a trade here. So now it's hitting this point of resistance here. Okay. I think it's going to go, the next candle is going to be green. I'm going to remove this line because I violated. I think the next candle is going to be green. And I would have won that trade. So moving on. See, it bounced again, and if you were a super risky trader, you actually could take this trade at a close thinking that it's going to be a green. But I'm going to do real life stuff, and I'm going to say I'm not going to take a trade there, just because I'm not that risky. But you would have won that trade like by a mile. Now, it's touching this trend again. It's touching this area again. However, notice 1, 2, and this is the third touch. However, the wick is not big. And I'm just going to go against what I just said about a minute ago. I'm going to take this trade for a put for 5 minutes. Even though the wick is not large, but because that was a good bounce here, and it used that point there to create a new downtrend. So it's a good place that it could bounce again, at least for the next candle. So I'm going to take a 5-minute put option there and thinking that the next candle is going to be red. And I would have won that. Okay, so right now we're at 10 and 1. Okay. Next up, let's see what happens. So it violates that line. Now what we're looking to see is if this starts coming back down again, we're going to use this level as a potential area of new support. But let's see how it behaves. Okay, so it broke that line. I'm not doing anything at this point, but it does look like this line here, because of the size of the wick, could be a good area of support. And this is new resistance here. Okay, so it's going down again. So we're just watching at this point and we're adjusting our stuff. We're not doing anything. Okay, so this bounce here, these wicks signify bounces. So look how long the bounces are. Look how long the wicks are. So it bounced off here, went up, and it closed close to this. Only thing that would prevent me from wanting to take this trade is the lack of a big wick on this side. So I'm not going to take a trade here, even though you would have won. So now you're just watching. Now there's no wick here. It created a new high. It hasn't really retested it before. This didn't have a wick. This has a really shitty wick, so I'm not going to place any trades here. But you would have won it. So there's no wick here. I'm not placing any trades. For good reason. Looks like this area might be a good area for a bounce. So we're going to watch to see if it closes close to this area, and then maybe take a trade. But it looked like it violated it completely. So we're going to remove this drawing. I think... No, we'll keep this drawing, and we'll keep this drawing. Okay, so let's continue. Okay, so it looks like it bounced from this side. So what we'll do is we'll adjust this drawing to do here. Let's see what happens if it touches that area again. Okay, so it's just doing a bunch of stuff. I have no idea what, but it looks like there's a bounce there. Not doing anything here. I'm not seeing any trades here. Okay, so it looks like this might be a good area of a bounce right here. The only reason I say that is because it touched this, went down. Touched this, went down. Touched this, created a long wick, and it might be going down again. And if I saw this wick, I'm going to place, just for the sake of it, I'm going to take a 5-minute put option just because I'm being impatient. And I would have barely won that. Okay, so there's another bounce here, but it closed well above this line, so I'm not going to do anything here. So it's approaching that, and it broke that resistance. So now we're waiting to see if it comes back down, if it retests this old resistance here, and what the candle looks like then. We're also going to mark down any place that it stops moving up for a potential new resistance point. So it continues to go up. So this is our new resistance point, and then we're looking for a new support. Okay, so this candle happens, and you have a relatively large wick here. So I'm going to place a put option for 5 minutes, thinking that the next candle is going to be red, and I would have lost that trade. Okay, and in hindsight, you have to be careful because remember, you have higher highs here. So if you're playing against the trend, to be more sure of this bouncing, you should have a longer wick. So remember, we're learning lessons as we go. So now, no, not yet. We don't know where the resistance is yet. This might be moving up still. We're waiting for a sharp pullback down. Okay, so this looks like you're leveling off here. Let's see if it... Okay, so we're not doing anything here. So violated that. I mean, this is going to go up again. Alright, so here is a new point of resistance. And it looks like this wick is long. Okay, and it kind of bounced off of this point and this point. I think the next wick is going to be green, and I'm going to do a 5-minute call trade here. And I would have won that. And I have to adjust my formula to accommodate that sell. Okay. So far, we're at 12 wins and 2 losses. Okay, very, very good percentage there. Okay, so now we're just watching again, seeing what happens. None of these wicks are exciting. This is a relatively exciting wick, but it closed relatively far away from that resistance, so we're not going to do anything. For good reason. See, this is a prime example of what I mean. If it closes, if it has a nice wick and it bounces off a place of resistance, but it closes relatively far away, you don't know whether the next candle is going to be green that will bring it closer to that resistance, or it could just very well be a red and go back down. But you don't want to take the chance. So we're not doing anything here, okay? So broke that again. Now we're watching to see what happens. This is the new area of resistance. Okay, so let's keep watching and see what happens. Okay. This was an old resistance, could be a new support, but the candle is relatively small. Even though there's a bounce, I'm not going to do anything here. Okay, it's just doing nothing right now. We're just watching it now. Oops, I should probably take this out. This is not relevant anymore because it broke this. So now we're just watching. And this also will adjust this. Bring it up here. This is a new area of support. So we're just watching now. This is a potential area that I'll bounce, but it used this area. There was a long bounce here, but it came down and there was no wick here. So be very calculated in this decision to take this trade. I'm going to take this trade because I like this little wick and how it bounced here and how it's bouncing here. So I'm going to take this trade to the upside for a call, 5 minutes. And I would have been at the money here, meaning I would have probably got my investment back. So I'm not going to do anything at this point. And the candles are too small. Okay, I'm not going to do anything again. There's no big wicks or anything, so I'm just going to leave it alone. I'm going to wait for the candles to start looking better. Okay, they're starting to look better, I guess. But let's see where it stops and where it creates new resistance. Okay, so right now it's not doing anything. And we're at the end of day. So that being said, that is excuse me. We're 12-2. Excellent, excellent percentage. That's a oops. %86 winning average, just going on candlestick and support and resistance, not even using my indicator. I didn't use stochastics for any of these trades, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through one more. I'm pretty sure people are interested in what I'm showing you here, So I'm going to go through one more just because I like you guys. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to stop this video just so I make sure I don't freeze my computer and lose what I just did. I'm going to stop this. I'm going to create another video and I'm going to post it next. I'm going to do the exact same way, and you'll see it probably with another video, another link. So right now, this is the EURAUD freestyle. Thanks.